Ho, ho, ho. It's time for Christmas. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our morning get together live here on Facebook, where we examine headlines from our city, from our state, from our country, just to see what's going on in Mexico. What can we learn about our country, our culture? And we also take a look at your comments and your questions and your ideas and suggestions so that we can all have a more connected life here in Puerto Vallarta as a community of English-speaking locals. Today is Friday, December 24th. It's Christmas Eve, and I'm sure that many of us are getting ready to do something. I personally am getting ready to do not much of anything. I'm looking forward to a very peaceful and productive Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, because there's a lot of, excuse me, there's a lot of frogs in my throat, and there's a lot of work to be done to prepare for our Dia de los Inocentes broadcast on the 28th, which, as you know, it's Mexico's April Fool's equivalent. So we're going to do a very special broadcast on that day. And then, of course, I need to go shopping for an outfit for the December 30th concert, and just good stuff. Anyhow, let me see. We have a few housekeeping news items that I want to share before we dive into the meat and potatoes of today's broadcast, which is our neighborhood profile, which is El Centro. And we are also going to have the walk that we didn't have on Wednesday. So we get a double whammy for El Centro. And of course, as always, we welcome you, new members, people that are joining us for the first time. Feel free to let us know that you are new by writing the word new in your comment. We'll give you a nice little welcome. If you have something truly important to say, please add the letter Q, capital Q, at the beginning of your comment. That way we make sure that we do not miss it. Like Tony has written Q, Merry Christmas to all on this beautiful day. Well, Merry Christmas to you and to everybody else. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, well, happy holidays. There you go. So let us dive into a couple of housekeeping news items, and then we are going to get into the heart of the matter, which is El Centro. But first, a little bit of this. Okay, we just have a couple of housekeeping nuggets. First of all, a reminder that the city will suspend garbage collection tomorrow and on January 1st, so kindly hold on to your garbage until the following day. Also, if you're planning on being out and about, relying on public transportation, please know that Unibus has informed that tonight public bus service will end early between 9 and 10:45 in the evening. Also, expect service tomorrow to begin a little later than usual, although Unibus was not specific about the time in which buses will begin circulating tomorrow morning. Let's see. This is just some food for thought. I thought it was interesting. There's the plane. That A year ago yesterday, Mexico received its first COVID-19 vaccine shipment ever. And what a year it's been. You know, I don't know if that I can add much of anything to that statement, but so much has gone on in the past 12 months and so little at the same time. So I hope that you will spend some time reflecting on that. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. God knows I will spend some time reflecting on that fact that this is the world that we live in now, and what we make of it is entirely up to each and every one of us. Lastly, before we go to the weather, you can now purchase these lovely Get the Fuck Out of My House scented candles to burn during the holidays in case you have any unwanted guests to tolerate. I'll leave you with a link in the show notes so you can learn more details about this innovative and very useful new product. All I can tell you ahead of time is that my favorite scent is going to be hot broccoli in a plastic bag. Enough said about that. Let us turn over to the weather just to see what kind of holiday weather we can expect, and then we'll dive into our neighborhood profile. Gwen says, need me one of those candles or four. I love it. It is 25 degrees on today, the 24th. Feels like 26. Humidity is at 56%. And for those of you that continue to hold on to the hope that Fahrenheit will ever conquer the world, it is 76 degrees on Fahrenheit, on the Fahrenheit scale. It's Christmas Eve, meatbag. Don't forget to set a trap to capture Santa, says our weatherman. Today, we can expect a clear day with a high temperature of 28, low temperature of 16. Tomorrow, Saturday, it's going to be a clear day again, high temperature of 28 and low temperature of 17. And of course, Sunday will be a clear day with a high temperature of 28 and a low temperature of 15. So the weather is fairly stable. Not much to expect here in terms of changes. No snow blizzards, nothing of the sort. So now we are going to tackle our El Centro features. And the way we're going to do this is, first and foremost, we're going to do our walk. Because as I was walking a couple of days ago, I shared some nuggets about El Centro. And then after we do the walk, we will fill in some blanks and add a little bit of conversation about Puerto Vallarta's founding neighborhood. So, going once, going twice, here we go. Here we go. Hello. Today we're standing right at the corner of Libertad and Hidalgo streets. And of course we've announced this walk. We're walking down El Centro to support what we're going to do on Friday, which is we're going to talk about El Centro during our broadcast. Now, which is just to give you some pointers, one block over is Juarez Street, which is the most important northbound street in El Centro. That's where all the buses go. And one block to my right is Miramar Street, and that's the street that goes up towards Gringo Gulch. Right on that corner is the Artist Co-op, where I happened to stop by and I noticed that they have greeting cards. Somebody was just asking on the broadcast whether I knew where one could find greeting cards. But today we're not going to Gringo Gulch and we're not taking the main route through El Centro. We're going to walk up Hidalgo Street. We're going to walk up Hidalgo Street for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's less crowded, less traffic. It's not as noisy. And of course, it gives us another alternative route to get to the other side of town, to get into Cinco de Diciembre and points beyond. While we're walking, I'm going to tell you a few things that I know about El Centro, a few things that I know about this neighborhood. For example, right at this corner is the hotel school, the Secatur, and this is a government-funded school for young people that want to become involved in tourism. And the reason I mention it is because on the opposite side of this building, there's a small theater that is part of the school. It has been used occasionally for performances, and it's one of those spaces that is unfortunately not used as much as it could. That is where Ken Sebrick and his wife Carrie first started doing their boutique theater a million years ago when they first came to Puerto Vallarta. And now, because it is a government building, of course, we don't know exactly who's running it or who's using it and for what. We're very close to the Church of Guadalupe, of course, and we're going to pass right by it. And we're going to see what else we can find. Hello. And I found myself surrounded by tourists. Oh my God.
Hola, 9.
Lord have mercy.
Tenemos 9 personas.
¿Con permiso? ¿Con permiso? Ooh, surrounded by tourists. But that's a good thing for the city. Anyhow, we are going to walk through El Centro and check out the sights. We were just here walking the other day, but not through El Centro to talk about El Centro. Look at all these tourists hoping to visit our church. This is a nice thing to see. As long as we are right at this corner, I have to mention this awesome restaurant, El Campanario, which is right here on this very corner.
It is so good.
Great Mexican food, very inexpensive stuff. If you find yourselves in this neck of the woods. This building right next to the church, we visited it the other day. This is where the church has its offices now. This is where they built a brand new museum. And we're going to continue with our walk. Now, another reason why we're walking down this street is because it gives us the opportunity to get a sense as to what El Centro has been in the past. Years ago, El Centro used to be a much more dynamic, much more thriving neighborhood. Things have changed, rents have gotten expensive, but there's still some wonderful landmarks that one should check out. This restaurant here across the street, La Cigale, is a very popular French restaurant. And just to give you a sense as to where we're at, if I look this way, just on the other side of the block is Las Parisina. City Hall is right on the opposite corner. And in front of me is one of many ways in which you can climb up the hill to Gringo Gulch. There's all these stair streets. Now that's not what you call them. Well, streets where vehicles cannot go by, and you climb the stairs to get up there. And there's a lot of cute little streets that allow you to climb up to the upper half of El Centro and into Gringo Gulch. Now, you may notice across the street there is an art gallery. This one happens to be called Caballito de Mar. But what I want to point out is not so much the gallery as much as the fact that they have an art walk sign. You see, when I first moved to Puerto Vallarta 20 years ago, the art walk was like the big to-do here in El Centro. There were all these art galleries, and this was the place to go. And it still is, but a lot of galleries have moved elsewhere. So the event, while still popular, is not as vibrant as it used to be. Here's Gaby's, another very popular Mexican restaurant. Nice because it's off the beaten track. But check it out. One of the things that I truly appreciate about this neighborhood is instances such as this one. I don't know who owns this building, but clearly this building has either been kept or has been remodeled in a very traditional way using exposed brick. So it is nice to see how some of the folks living in El Centro have chosen to preserve the nature of their neighborhood. Back when one was able to drive one's car down the Malecón was also a different time. There was a time when there were a lot of shops in all the little streets that led to the Malecón. Now there's not so much of that. And because so many businesses along the Malecón have become nighttime businesses, the dynamic of the neighborhood has changed considerably. Now check out, this is another one of those walkways that you can get, that you can use rather. This one in particular is the one that leads directly to the lighthouse, the old lighthouse vantage point. Here's a beautiful sculpture by Ramis Barquet. I'm going to take a photo of it. And we are going to continue heading north down El Centro. As you can see, there's nobody here. So if you're feeling a little crazy, like I feel a little crazy when I'm surrounded by a lot of people, you know, walking down the street is a lot more relaxing. Now look at how beautifully kept these gardens are. You know, some businesses and some buildings have done that very nicely.
Also notice how narrow the sidewalks are. We'll comment on that in a second.
And here's another one of those staircases leading up to the hill. Again, any one of these is very colorful and a great workout. And you know, we're only 2 blocks away from the Malecón. Let me take a close-up shot. There you go. But we continue north.
Check out those balconies on the right-hand side. I think they're really adorable. And again, it's nice to see that some people have cared for the original buildings, and if they have been remodeled, they have been remodeled in a way that seems to belong in the neighborhood.
And at this corner, we will take a right for one short little block. We could take a left, but we would end up back in Avenida Juárez. Instead, let us take this little turn to the right, and we will continue our adventure to the left here. Now, right on this corner, let me cross the street. There's a brand new Peruvian restaurant that I haven't had a chance to check out. This is called Puro Peru. It's a fairly new addition. In fact, let's get close to take a photo of the menu to have a better idea of what they serve. I'm always intrigued about new restaurants. So here we are. Let me take a photo and keep it for reference. But I see they have ceviches and seafood prepared in Peruvian style. Lots of seafood. Yes, lots of seafood. So there you have it. If you're craving seafood and you want to experience Peruvian cuisine, this is where you can find it. We cross the street again because the other side is shaded. And we continue heading north
I say
And once
shaded
again,
and
I
stay on
find
the
myself really enamored with all the exposed brick I see in this neighborhood. There is that structure up there. Let me get here to the corner and photograph it. I know that this is somebody's famous home that has that thing on the roof. I don't know the story behind it, but I'm sure some friends might. The street that we were walking along, Hidalgo, became Guadalupe Sanchez, which is the street that we're walking on right now. And we are 1 block away from the famous Café des Artistas restaurant. And sí, señor. We'll take a photo once we get close. But check out this beautiful facade. It's called Casa de la Torre, the house of the tower. And this is what the front looks like. I don't know if it's privately owned or what the deal is, but it is quite unique. At this corner, of course, here is Sí Señor Garden Restaurant. And right next to it is Café des Artistas. All that block is Café des Artistas. And very quickly we find ourselves in the part of town where the original art galleries established themselves. This used to be the heart and soul of the art walk, and I imagine it still is. I just don't find myself in this part of town all that frequently anymore. And we have walked this section of Guadalupe Sanchez before, and we're just gonna walk it again all the way down to the street where Woolworth is. And before you know it, we have crossed all of El Centro, and we find ourselves in Cinco de Diciembre in a matter of a couple of blocks. And how nice it is that we have been able to walk all these blocks without being in direct sunlight at this time of the afternoon.
We're surrounded by people not wearing face masks. Hello.
Very popular with tourists. At this corner we find Pipi's restaurant. Again, very popular with tourists. Buenas tardes. More shops and small art galleries. And at this corner on the right-hand side, we find Colectica, that is Kevin Simpson's traditional Mexican folk art gallery, where he sells collector pieces, beautiful pieces, I may say. And as long as we're here, we'll try to capture the beautiful mural that he commissioned for his facade. And in just about 15 minutes, we find ourselves at the corner where Woolworths is located. In fact, we're walking along the backside of Woolworths. And this is probably a good place to stop for a second and wrap things up for this walk. As always, it's a pleasure to get together with you. Oh my goodness, look at all the remodeling that's going on at Barcelona Tapas. He's what is his name? Carvalho is his last name, but I'm spacing out on his first name. He's been serving dinner from the upper levels. Clearly, Bill Carvalho. Clearly, he is now fixing up the lower levels. But this is another great restaurant in town that you can enjoy. And this brings us to the end of our walk. This was a quick walk through to El Centro so that you can get a sense as to what it is, what it has been, and what it could become. As always, I appreciate your company, and I hope to see you soon for another walk. Take care.
Yay! So that was part one of our El Centro coverage today. We'll get to your comments in a second. Before we move on, let us review a few important pointers. First of all, let's see. Hold on just a second. I made a cover for our walk today. Hold on. Where is my presentation? Here it is. And as you know, El Centro is in El Centro. It's the original neighborhood. We actually walked down here. Here we go. We walked down this street. But as you can see, a lot of us think about El Centro and think about everything that's going on here on the Malecón and so forth and so on. I didn't mean to do that. Let's do that. We're familiar with what's going on the Malecón, but it's all these beautiful streets up and down that are worth visiting whenever you get a chance. And the reason why I mentioned earlier that the sidewalks, well, I'm going to hold on to the sidewalks. First of all, I want to make sure that I show you. We already saw the arrow move. Paco, move on to the next slide, please. There you go. Not that one, this one. I wanted to make sure that you knew that I stopped at Arte Viviente. Just a few days ago, somebody was asking about greeting cards, and they do have them, so I took this photo just as a reminder. And of course, we mentioned during the walk the lighthouse, and it is a great place to take in the beauty of El Centro. And of course, just down the street from the old lighthouse is Che Elena, and we are going to talk a little bit about Che Elena in a second. And I'll tell you about this wonderful restaurant. It's one of the original ones. And of course, next week we get to discuss Fluvial Vallarta. So that'll be a lot of fun. Now, before we start our discussion, I also wanted to let you know, where is it, that I updated our brand spanking new landmark map. And we have a couple of landmarks in El Centro. Well, we have Arte Viviente showing here. And we have the store where I buy my yarns, because just at least one person has asked about that. And here is a landmark for the old lighthouse on Matamoros Street. And of course, just down the street is Che Elena. So let me start with Che Elena. As long as we're thinking about this, I was just there with some friends. And shame on me, I've known that this restaurant exists ever since I got here. They were clients of Vallarta Lifestyles when I first started working at the magazine. And I didn't make it there until just a few days ago. And I was so very happy that I went because Che Elena is a restaurant in a hotel called Cuatro Vientos. And the restaurant is on the lower level, but they also have a rooftop bar, which is where I took that sunset view. And it's amazing because you walk through this building and it has every quality that I love about an old style hotel and building in downtown Puerto Vallarta. It's like you almost want to go back and take photographs of every single thing that you can see. And they give you a souvenir leaflet, and I'm going to read the whole thing just because it's an interesting account. It's not too long, but it says here, Elena Cortes built this historical landmark in 1954 when Vallarta was still the little fishing village of legend and lore. Claiming to be a descendant from Hernan Cortes, whatever, she came to Vallarta from the Valley of Mexico and decided to settle. We were all descendants of Hernan Cortes. Anyhow, she came to Vallarta from the Valley of Mexico and decided to settle on the hillside of what is now known as El Cerro and to seek her fortune. With the onset of growth and the arrival of many artists, actors, and writers, Elena seized the opportunity and decided to provide meals, cooking on a small stove at the front of her property and setting up a few tables on the ground beside her small dwelling. She put all her culinary talents to work as taught to her by her mother. Each evening she would serve a different dish, and along with the food came her larger-than-life presence, chatting with her guests and regaling them with stories both wild and humorous. She enchanted them all. Her success was instant, and with her newfound financial capability, she added a few rooms behind her hillside kitchen and dining room. Hoping to add a bit of flair, she soon added a Che, C-H-E-Z, to what has been known simply as Elena's. Soon the Four Winds, as she named the rooms, and Che Elena became a meeting place for such well-known personages as Peter O'Toole, Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, Anthony Quinn, Robert Shaw, and many other luminaries. Her cuisine was the recipient of the Holiday Magazine Award for 8 consecutive years. An architect from New York was soon called in to design the structure that is standing today. Elena chose the name well, Los Cuatro Vientos, or the Four Winds. Standing on the rooftop terrace, one can really feel and understand why. Winds blow from all four corners of the bay. In 1980, Elena retired when Gloria Whiting, the current proprietress, purchased the Four Winds. Few restaurants of Puerto Vallarta have enjoyed more renown over the years than Che Elena, which enjoys the distinction of being the oldest continuously running restaurant in the city. For more than 45 years, travelers and visitors of all kinds have found memorable experiences in the candlelight of its intimate garden setting, and so forth and so on. I don't need to read the whole thing, but I will tell you that anybody that wants to get a sense as to what life may have been in El Centro a few years ago or a few decades ago, I think a visit to this restaurant is definitely worthwhile. We also talked about the art walk. I remember when I first moved to Puerto Vallarta 20 years ago, this 27th. My goodness. When I first moved here, started working at Vallarta Lifeless magazine, El Centro was such a happening area. And the art walk was like the creme de la creme. You would go to the art walk and you would see everyone there. Everyone. People would be nicely dressed and saunter from one gallery to the other. And there were a ton of galleries. And it was a place to be seen and to see other people. And things started changing because, the city started evolving. Emiliano Zapata became increasingly popular. Galleries started moving over there. Prices in El Centro started getting a little crazy. And one of the big challenges in El Centro is that it is a victim of itself. El Centro has no room to grow. There's no place to build wider sidewalks for people to walk through. There is no place to divert traffic. I mean, think about it for a second. If the Libramiento was not here, we would have absolutely no way to get from points north to points south of the city. And as it is, traffic in El Centro is quite difficult to bear. And then at some point came the big change in El Centro, which some people think is one of the best things that could have happened. Other people think it's one of the worst, which is when the street that goes along the Malecón was turned into a pedestrian walkway. And that changed a lot of the dynamic in El Centro. Then a lot of nighttime businesses came, and all of a sudden, all the little stores, all the little shops, the jewelry shops, the knick-knack stores started moving away from El Centro because either it has become unmanageable or too expensive. And that gives me what we call in Spanish sentimientos encontrados, which literally translates to encountered feelings, which in English is mixed feelings, because it is a great place to live if you can find a place to live. You don't see a lot of listings in El Centro. And but there are a lot of prize jewel properties to be found for rent if you know the right people, if you talk to owners and so forth and so on. There's a lot of people that still rent properties that are wonderful. There are a lot of people that are fixing up things in El Centro. Some people are maintaining the original charm of the neighborhood, others not so much. So, when I look at El Centro, I look at wonderful things and I look at a neighborhood that is trapped within its own confines. But it is beautiful. It is our city's beating heart. And that brings me to the end of my commentary about El Centro. Before I look at your comments, I do want to make an announcement because I love it when you guys come up with great ideas that are easy to implement. Yesterday, somebody said something like, "Can you do a playlist of all the neighborhood profiles?" And I could, but it's complicated because if I do a playlist on YouTube, I cannot change the names of the videos. But what we've done is, if you go to Coffee and Headlines, first of all, a reminder: there is our general reference map, Coffee and Headlines map, where you will find our general reference. There's Versailles for Foodies, and now we have neighborhood profiles. What I have done here is I put together a list of all the neighborhoods that we visited. And if you click on each one of the neighborhoods, you can go to the actual broadcast in which they were discussed. As of right now, we are here, and I will make, as soon as we upload the show notes, we'll have one for El Centro. We have 3 more left from the original list: Fluvial, Cinco de Diciembre, and Versalles. And yesterday, you suggested Bobadilla, Buenos Aires, and Aramara. And I will continue to add neighborhoods as you suggest them based on what you suggest. If you don't suggest a neighborhood on a certain week, well, I may take a neighborhood profile week off, or I may just go and choose a random neighborhood on my own. All that said, let's take a look at some of your comments just to see what everybody is up to this early Christmas Eve. Lots of good mornings, as always, and lots of good wishes for Merry Christmas. Thank you so very much. Oh, Christy went Christmas caroling. That sounds like a lot of fun. I used to do that, and it was a lot of fun. Our landlady has invited us to their family Christmas dinner tonight. What should we bring? Is a bottle of wine appropriate? Absolutely. A bottle of wine never goes to waste, at least not in my household. I think a bottle of wine is an absolutely lovely idea. Let's see. Logan, I hope you're feeling better. What else do we have? Yesterday was a Michael B. kind of day. Breakfast at Poblano and Michael before breakfast at Poblano and dinner at Siam. Both were delicious as always. I can believe that very easily. Let's see. Oh my God, you guys are making me crave poblanos. I love it. Gwen, we read this before. Gwen needs a couple of those get the fuck out of my house candles. I love it. Let's see. My nephew, Miguel Abrazote, my nephew from Monterrey. I loved reading this as we were going through the walking tour. Then you and Kathy, I can't wait till you get done with work so we can get together and we can do an interview, because you guys managed to go to so many places with a wheelchair, and I am so glad that you found the birria place, and I am so glad that you found the Christmas shop. Wasn't that a trip of a store? Let's see what else we have. Oh, Ray shared this nasty headline that I haven't read yet, saying that Puerto Vallarta denies disembarkation of a cruise ship due to active cases of COVID-19. Ouch. I also read somewhere that a bunch of flights in the United States are canceled, so I sure hope you were not planning to fly from point A to point B today. Let's see what else. Chan chaka chan. Oh, that's right. Jenny asked about how was the food at Che Elena. The food was nice. It was not thrilling, but it was great. It was good. It was good food. It was a nice, solid menu. I don't think the appeal for me of Che Elena is so much the food as it is the environment. It is, and I don't mean to imply that the food was not good. It was good food. But the environment, it's such an old building and beautiful, quaint Mexican building. The wait staff was super friendly, and you get to go upstairs to the rooftop. There's a bar there. So it is a great place, completely outdoors, wide open to enjoy cocktails. Beautiful, beautiful place. I want to go back. Then you have comments about the Peruvian place. I loved reading those as well because I haven't had a chance to go. Thank you so very much for the recommendations. Margaret says, I live above Si Senor. I certainly hope you don't live literally above the restaurant. I hope you live behind the restaurant on the hill. Let's see what else we have. Is there going to be a Coffee and Headlines t-shirt available in the future? That is a very good question, Charles. Would I like for there to be a Coffee and Headlines t-shirt? Yes, I would like for there to be a Coffee and Headlines t-shirt. My only concern about undertaking a t-shirt is that any time spent undertaking another project takes time away from what we're already doing. If I get a sense from the community that a t-shirt is super important, then we will find a way to make them happen, and we will find a way to sell them and whatnot. Otherwise, I will continue to follow whatever indications we get from the cluster as to what kind of stuff you want to see come out of this broadcast. And you empower 7 beautiful things. I counted them the other day. You empower our daily get-togethers. You empower our Versailles for Foodies map. You empower our Taco Tuesday map. You empower our new general reference map. You empower our Friday discussion, neighborhood discussion. You empower this wonderful community that I'm a part of. And you empower a weekly newsletter. And all of these things that you empower are really wonderful, but they all take time to maintain properly. So I'm always happy to hear new ideas, but ultimately what I want is to embark on ideas that make the vast majority of the community happy. There you go. That was a very long answer. Scott says, I really enjoy your sprinkled stills added to your walk, just like Christmas sprinkles. Thank you very much, Scott. I enjoy getting your copious emails with many photographs. I'm sorry I don't respond to them, but there's only so much time in the day. But thank you for sharing. Let's see what else we have. Diseño Natural used to be across from Café de Certices, where we got and helped design our parota tables with crystals and resin. She's now in Bucerias. I love this comment, Kathleen, because this comment is a perfect example of what happens in El Centro frequently and unfortunately. House owners and locale owners, they raise their rent. I don't know that this is exactly what happened to your friends at Diseño Natural, but when people raise rents in an arbitrary way, they tend to do what they tend to scare people away, and they send people to open up their businesses elsewhere. So they take away part of the vibrancy of the neighborhood. And then it's the same people that live and own property in El Centro that complain that El Centro is not nearly as lively as it used to be. So, it's a chicken and egg situation. And that's why I think it is complicated. Cheryl asks, what is the anniversary date of your arrival in Puerto Vallarta? It is December 27th, and we'll have a broadcast, and I'll be a mess. A good mess, but I will be a mess because it's my 20-year anniversary. To me, the 27th is far more important than the 25th, the 24th and the 25th, and the 31st and January 1st. I mean, for me, New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve and all that stuff is not nearly as important as this very meaningful new chapter that I embarked on 20 years ago. So we'll be here. We'll be messy, but in a good way. Let's see what else we have. Do El Cerro next. It is beautiful. We have been to El Cerro already. Um, yes, we have. Have we not? We did El Cerro. El Cerro, September 24th. That's when we did El Cerro. So we don't need to do El Cerro again just yet. Oh my, we must try Che Elena. You absolutely must, Jenny. Highly recommended. And again, this walk down down Hidalgo Street in down what is it, Guadalupe Sanchez. It was so peaceful, so mellow, so wonderful. I totally recommend it. And it's, let's see what else we have. Ba-da-ba-ba. Doody 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 doo. It's a lot of hard work, but Colleen, you nourish me so much. You guys are my Christmas gift. You really are. You support the broadcast. Some of you do it financially, which is very much appreciated. Some of you do it word of mouth. It is very rare that I go anywhere anymore, like a restaurant or a business, when I don't run into people that have mentioned Coffee and Headlines. So every time you mention our gatherings, our community, the videos, what we talk about, you are providing a little something to make sure that we remain here. So it is a pleasure to do all this hard work, Colleen, because it also gives me meaning, gives my life meaning, and that is absolutely wonderful. Bobadilla, please feature the swimming complex. It's already on the list, so it's going to be on the Friday after Versailles. Thank you very much for that suggestion. How about the Marina area? We've been there already. Sorry. Just check the list. It's already here. Marina Vallarta. When did we do it? October 1st. There you go. Anna wants to see my t-shirt. My t-shirt has Cuarentena en Cuarentona. It's a meme featuring Drake. Let's see what else. I don't know how you do it, Paco. Internet technology and an AV. I have a hard time just sending an email. I hear you, Mark, but I think it is everyone's responsibility to empower ourselves as much as we can to remain relevant, to remain vital, to keep learning things, and that's what has kept me prosperous. Knock on wood. I mean, the day I stopped being curious about things to learn, I might as well be put on a boat and just be sent away. There you go. Let's see. Chunka, 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 chunka. Perhaps members of the cluster could submit designs ideas for a Copy and Headlines t-shirt. Don't go too crazy, Marie. Let us sit on that idea. Let us sit on that idea. So, but I'll find a productive, easy, simple way for us to get t-shirts in 2022. Let's see. Lots of holiday messages. Thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you for that. I really appreciate this message from you. The passion you have for Vallarta and the services you provide is apparent. Anna Sparks asks, "What is a cuarentona?" Okay, it's a word place. Cuarentena is quarantine, and cuarentona is a woman that is in her 40s. It comes from the word cuarenta, so it's a word play between the subtle and funny difference between being in your 40s and being in quarantine. That's what the t-shirt means. And it's now 11:20, so I think this is a good place and time to stop. As always, thank you very much for your ongoing support, for your Christmas presents. I am so grateful that many of you have resubscribed, and I am happy to see that your payments are being processed without a major hitch by the new company that Coffee and Headlines is employing. So thank you for your support. Thank you for being subscribing members. thank you for your coffees. And to those of you that are subscribing members and yet complement that with the occasional coffees, thank you very much. Have a safe and happy Christmas Eve. I'll see you again tomorrow morning with more news. And stay put. Watch out for that Christmas blizzard we're expecting to get. No, I'm just kidding. Have a great day. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you tomorrow.